This episode of the What If Podcast is brought to you in part by Button Poetry, where poetry isn't dead. As the premier place online for live performance videos of spoken word and slam poetry, Button Poetry won't bore you like your high school English textbooks did. Find real stories you'll want to listen to and art you'll actually care about by visiting them today at buttonpoetry.com.
Welcome to the What If Podcast with your hosts, Spencer Worth Davis and Ryan Copperrood.
We met with a financial advisor this morning.
Oh yeah, you guys were going to do that bright and early.
Yeah, and so at 7:30 this morning, I'm on the 29th floor of some building downtown trying to describe to this like bright-eyed 30-year-old woman who is dressed way more nicely than I am what I do for a living.
Yes.
And I was like, she's like, so you're a musician? I was like, yeah, sort of.
How many? You should have been like, how many boxes do you have for me to check? Like,
Well,
that'll probably be the closest one.
If we get any further than that, it's not like I either got to explain like what music production is, sort of, or I got to try and explain to you like what podcasting is.
Have you ever heard of Area 51?
Right. I talk about aliens to strangers on the internet.
And I make rap beats.
Yeah. Does that help? There's a number on that sheet that says how much money that makes me. That's what you need, right?
That's right. How much more detail do you need?
I'm going to check out for the next hour.
While my wife, with a much more concrete and understandable
Life
job.
insurance? No, fuck no. If I die, she's screwed. Sorry. Actually, she'll be fine because she makes all her money and decisions. She'll be sad for a while, and then everything will be back to normal. I think we can skip that part of this form.
She'll be fine.
Sometimes it's not your night, man.
That's how we have to open. This is the What If Podcast.
What's
We're
happening?
keeping that whole thing in. Hi, Spencer.
Hey, dude.
What's going on?
Dude, Dubai Kid, I miss
Killing
you
it.
so much. Dubai Kid's back.
Yep.
How are you, bro?
I'm great, man. I recovered from
your
my
financial-
eventful morning.
Your financial planning incident this
I took a
morning?
nap.
I would have needed to after that, too.
Yeah.
I would have had some vertigo from the 29th floor of a building in downtown Minneapolis.
I didn't know you were welcome in there wearing T-shirts and sneakers, but turns out you are.
I mean, if you're going to eventually give them some money, they're probably like,
Right.
yeah, well, you can.
Yeah.
As long as
They
you're
don't
not
care.
like naked, you're fine. Bro, you got some blueberries on your desk. What up?
Yeah, blueberries are delicious.
You're just sitting out, man.
Yeah, I was eating them earlier. You want some?
Nah, I'm cool.
All right.
I'll put them in my lemon lime
Dude.
sparkling water beverage.
Yes, you should. It's a great combo.
We were remarking that Schweppes apparently makes a sparkling water beverage, not sparkling water, not sparkling beverage, a sparkling water beverage.
Yeah.
Spencer believes
Isn't every beverage a water beverage?
I get not every beverage.
What beverage doesn't have water in it? Pure alcohol. Gasoline.
Everclear.
Unless you're drinking gasoline. I think you're drinking a water beverage.
I guess that's probably true. Mm-hmm. All right, deal.
All right, so what if humans kept evolving?
What if humans kept evolving is our topic today.
We got any like weird news or updates or bullshit first?
I did want to share one with you that I found last week.
Share your weird bullshit with the world, Ryan. Share your gift for weird bullshit.
It says, I guess that is what we have. We have a gift for weird bullshit here.
Show me what you got.
So what I got is the folks behind IFL Science, which we don't have to abbreviate on the show because we get to say words like fuck.
Is that what that is?
I fucking love science is what their whole thing stands for.
Cool.
They created this AI thing called Inspirobot, which basically what they did was they created a AI website you can go to. If you actually go to inspirobot.me, it says, I'm Inspirobot. I'm an artificial intelligence dedicated to generating unlimited amounts of unique inspirational quotes for endless enrichment of pointless human existence. And it definitely does use artificial intelligence to create inspirational quotes, but the internet quickly found out that this AI is sort of terrible at it. So the first one that I put in, Spencer's making a face right now, which means he generated one that's awesome.
No, just that the internet corrupts everything immediately.
Why? What happened?
No, just like what was the IBM? I think it was. What the hell was that thing's name?
I can't remember.
Maybe it wasn't IBM. Jesus, we're good at stuff.
I remember though because it was
AI Hitler bot.
I'm sure it'll come up. Twitter. Add Twitter in there. It'll come up.
Dude, this headline. Twitter taught Microsoft's AI chatbot to be a racist asshole in less than a day. It was Microsoft, God. And it was called Tay. It was AI that was supposed to be modeled after a teenage girl.
Yeah, that's right. And people just kept tweeting horrible things at it to try to get it to regurgitate them and succeeded perfectly.
Tay went from humans are super cool to full-blown Nazi in less than 24 hours, and I'm super not concerned about the future of AI at all.
Dude, that's the realest.
All right, so anyway, Inspirobot.
No, I mean, that's a perfect example. So basically, I Fucking Love Science didn't make it, but they're the ones that like put this on blast and went a little viral. It's just an AI that's basically taking random phrases and laying them over photos, and they turned out really bad and super not inspiring, and I have some fantastic examples for you here.
Incompetence is to refuse to become yourself.
There you go. Is that the first one you got?
With a picture of a man wearing a scarf.
Fantastic. The first one that I got, I dragged into my note stock for this episode because I had to share it. It's like two hands reaching upward over black, and it just says, "The stupidity of the human race is a public execution."
You carry the potential to become a mediocre wanker. A mediocre wanker. A mediocre wanker. With a picture of an owl.
3 times?
Yeah.
Fabulous. This one is over lightning in the sky and says, "Ensure that a stranger feels ashamed."
It's important. Yeah.
I've got over a picture of a rusted old truck in a field. Be honest, or don't. 2 sentences.
That's actually pretty good.
Be honest, or don't.
A mediocre wanker.
That's a new drop we're using all the time now.
Yeah, Inspirobot seems like a real piece of shit. Why?
Super not very
Was it
inspiring.
supposed to be funny, or did they think this would actually work?
To be honest, I don't entirely know. It seems
it's got to be a bit.
I mean, I guess.
The aliens want to drink with a heart of gold.
Well, I'll be that heart of gold. We're nice people. Yeah, I don't know. The website is like low-key half broken. Like you can only click on a handful of things.
This has got to be a bit. Or someone hijacked it and turned it into a bit.
Not all of them are that funny. Like this one just says, "Don't trust magic."
But that's still total nonsense.
Well, right. So much of AI, which is part of what makes me think it could be actual AI that just sucks.
Reincarnation is never divorce in a non-figurative sense.
See, like that's total nonsense.
That shit is deep.
That shit is deep.
Humanity might not be such a bad idea.
The fact that our AI thought it was a bad idea in the first place terrifies me.
It's coming around. All right. Humans are going to evolve into worthless chatbots with arm tattoos and
what?
Fucking American Gladiator presidents.
Oh, God. So in preparation for this, well, should we talk about that later? Or should we talk about that now?
I don't know what our plan is for this one. I'm going to take this in a really weird, probably not answering the question way that I haven't told you about yet.
Okay, tight.
So if you want to go first, that might be better.
All right, tight. I'll keep us on the rails until Spencer takes us off of them.
We're going fully off, by the way.
Oh, boy. All right. So I think we have to talk about evolution first. Just a little bit.
Well, right. That would probably be helpful.
What, Spencer, what does evolution mean to you?
It means stuff changing and adapting to its surroundings over long periods of time.
That's real. Not
and
always.
By stuff, I mean living stuff.
Not always long periods of time, but depending on which type of evolution we're talking about.
Okay. You said what it means to me, bro. I answered from the heart.
All right. I appreciate your heartfelt answer. I didn't mean to correct your heartfelt answer, your heart of gold answer.
Sometimes it's not your night, man.
I like that Spencer hit a button and took a big swig of Perrier, just like, hey man, gotta do what you gotta do.
Sometimes it's not your night.
So evolution broken down by the evolutionary scientist from this NPR article that I was reading, whose name is, he's a paleoanthropologist, John Hawks.
Anthropologist study of humans and cultures. Paleo fossils?
Old humans?
Studies human history through fossils?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes, because I don't have a better answer for that.
Science is happening.
Science. John Hawks says that, I'm summarizing here, less about the process, more about the concept. He says that evolution is basically about survival and procreation, right? So like everything that we do that evolves is generally leading towards one of those two things.
Service of one of those two goals. Yeah.
Right. And in a lot of ways, procreation is just survival of...
Yeah, I guess you could combine those to just say survival.
Yeah, survival of either like you individually or survival like long term of your kin, your species, your lineage, if you will. So basically, what he's saying is like everything that we've done to evolve are things that have pushed us forward into those goals. And there's a different scientist who, let me pull it up right now. Oh, nope, no more Inspirobot today. Go away, Inspirobot. Okay, so I found this other article that I think is really interesting before we go too far off the rails, to talk about like the types of evolution there could be, right? So 3 main ones. 1, biological evolution.
Yep.
Your body making new changes.
We don't really do that so much anymore.
Well, we are, but we're doing it slowly. Very slowly. Did you know that in the last 150 years, the average height of all humans has increased by 10 centimeters?
That's a lot of centimeters.
For 150 years. Do you know why that is?
So we're putting stuff up higher on shelves.
Yes. It helps us survive.
Yoga. We're stretching more.
It keeps it away from the bears.
Yeah.
By putting
We're
it higher
evolving
up.
to hide our food from bears better.
Scientists think that it's largely because we view height as an attractive trait. So
tall people are fucking more?
So tall people are fucking more.
Great work, bro.
And procreating more. Thanks. Thanks very much. For those of you
That's a
who
visual joke. Ryan is 7 inches taller than me.
For those of you who don't know, I'm 6'5". So, but I'm not.
Andy fucks.
I was gonna try to make the leap before we got there. But yeah, scientists think that generally speaking, people are attracted to taller mates because...
Is that evolution though? Because we're not adapting to our environment. We're just choosing different partners.
But
That's selective.
But yeah, well, in a lot of ways, that's what natural selection is as we mate off of things that are beneficial to benefit our survival, and then over time, those genes become more prevalent in the gene pool.
Right, but is there evidence that being taller actually leads to better survival?
Well, instinctually and historically, yes, they say that we're attracted to it because if you're bigger, you can protect better. You're much more intimidating to animals or whatever. Yeah,
I guess I'm just trying to draw a distinction between things that we find attractive and things that are actually actually help us survive. Because
sure,
saying that we are attracted to larger people, which I don't know if that would necessarily work for both sexes, because of some protective instinct, could just mean that we find certain things attractive. It doesn't necessarily mean that leads to a better chance of reproduction or survival.
That's definitely true, but it's still, I guess, considered biological evolution in that the gene pool is trending in a certain direction. So maybe not all versions of evolution take us towards those things, but it's hypothesized that for the most part, when the gene pool moves in that direction, it's because we did it out of a need to do that thing. There's one, like a perfect example of what you're talking about right now is blue eyes. like the first documented case of blue eyes wasn't until like, I don't know what it was, like a few thousand years ago or something like that. We didn't
discover the color blue until like the 1600s.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the eyes weren't a thing yet.
Yeah.
No, but
we all saw it as green for all throughout history until then.
Wait, is this a real thing? I don't understand what you're talking about.
Sorry.
I was
just saying stuff. Just saying stuff. That's blatantly false.
They think that blue eyes was originally just like a genetic mutation that happened in a person that was viewed as like different and striking and attractive, then that pervade itself into the gene pool really quickly.
Don't we have fewer mutation, like natural genetic mutations now too, though? Than we used to, when there were fewer people and we didn't interact with each other as much?
Yes? Question mark?
Because I would think that everyone interacting with each other more, and we don't have isolated groups of people anymore.
Right.
That our evolution would sort of slow down and sort of normalize in a way.
Homogeny.
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's a big part of the reason the Galapagos Islands were such a hotbed for the study of evolution,
because they were isolated.
Of their level of isolation. Yeah. I mean, to this day, there's still like tons of crazy rules about how you have to keep it isolated for that purpose.
Humans are weird too, though, because we, rather than adapting to our surroundings, change our surroundings.
You mean now or previously?
Always, but especially now.
Yeah.
Just through using tools and now technology and stuff, we don't have to adapt in order to survive because, well, I guess for two reasons. We use technology and tools, and we also use collective learning. So we teach each other things and then pass that on for many generations.
Right.
So even if I'm incompetent and feeble, I'm not going to die because other people have done the work for me in the past.
Right.
Or will now.
Right. That's a perfect segue to the second type of, or main type of evolution that they talk about here, which is cultural evolution, right? So like...
Forgot we were going through a list and just started saying stuff.
No, that's quite,
continue.
No, that's perfect, man. We discussed the first one. Cultural evolution, they talk about as like exactly like you said, like shit we learn from other people, shit that bounces back and forth and then like affects us. Like, can you imagine the first dude who put a blanket over him? Somebody was like, oh shit, that's such a good idea. I should wear a blanket and then I'll be warm.
It was probably an animal, but yeah. And they're all like, hey, Steve's wearing a mammoth. Dumbass Steve. He's not a mammoth, he's a Steve.
Steve looks like a deer. What a dumb fucking idiot. Steve's over there like, I'm warm as shit, you
And then
idiots.
that guy died 5 minutes later, and Steve's still here.
Steve just sitting
Steve
under
is
like...
all of our dads. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Steve's sitting under like a steaming animal carcass, just like totally warm.
Steve just ripped a live deer in half and crawled in it.
It's like that scene in Star Wars where they open up the tauntaun and sleep inside it.
Yeah.
Nice work, Steve. Way to figure it out.
Steve was also a Jedi.
Steve the Jedi. Oh,
yeah, so cultural learning / collective learning / cultural evolution. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, cultural evolution. And
learning shit from each other.
Right. And there are some things that like, so like actually, obviously we're joking about throwing animal skins on you, but that actually can like lead to cultural evolution in that humans are less hairy than they were before. And that's because we wear clothes now. And
well, that's biological evolution though, right?
Partially, but it's influenced by the cultural evolution of like the spread of like tools and shit like that. Like a shirt is a tool.
Right, but we didn't decide to become less hairy.
No, I'm just saying the passage of that information is what contributes. It's a cultural thing that contributes to the evolution itself.
To the biological evolution.
Yes.
Got you.
Feel me?
Yeah.
Another evidence of cultural, or another thing, a part of cultural evolution that's a little different they talk about is like the fact that like we're all just getting fatter because we all sit at desks all day. And that's like...
Life is just easier physically than it ever has been.
And our foods are fattier and sugarier and saltier than they ever were before. And we're more sedentary in general. And you compound those things. And culturally, we're evolving into a fatter, more sedentary species just in general.
So it seems like they're putting two things together there, though, of like the learning and tool technology side of it.
Yes.
And then that stuff influencing biological evolution.
Yeah.
Or facilitating or instigating biological evolution.
The way that they separate it in here is biological evolution are traits that can be transmitted to a person only from their parents. So straight up like a biological genome heritage thing. And cultural evolution is a cultural trait that can be transmitted to a person by many unrelated people to them. So it could be something that affects like who they are, but comes from an external source.
Right.
And over time as well. And then the third one
wouldn't be on like a physiological level.
Or at least not directly. It would happen culturally over time. As in culturally, we started becoming less hairy because we were wearing like sweaters and shit. But it wasn't just because like...
I don't think it was sweaters, but...
Well, tauntauns.
Yeah.
Wearing dead tauntauns. And then the third kind is technological evolution. Okay. So the way that they talk about it is basically just... it's sort of like the evolution of our technology, but it's sort of, I would say it lends itself to cyborgs.
How does that differ from cultural, though?
I don't really know. It's just the way that they break it off. They say the change from stone tools to metal tools, the development of industrial technologies like steam and electric power, agricultural and medicinal procedures, communicational resources such as the internet and space travel, and often in technological evolution, they wrap up like the disease elements of things. So what we've learned in medicine and how medicine is and isn't affecting our longevity as a species, they wrap up into technological evolution more than cultural evolution. So for instance, one of the ones that I find really interesting is that as a species, we're both becoming like more resistant to some diseases and less resistant to other ones, both because of the like medicines that we do and don't have right now.
Right.
So we're evolving, like our bodies are evolving to be like we're worse at battling bacteria because we've been taking antibiotics for the last 60 years.
Well, and we've forced bacteria to evolve too.
Right, exactly. So we're in an arms race with bacteria as a species.
Nuke 'em.
And
what if we lived inside of microwaves? Would that help?
We'd all have really good tans, right?
It'd be bacteria free.
Is your microwave always bacteria free?
No, I'm just full of bad ideas over here tonight.
Wouldn't it be though? Like if you just turn it on really hot for a really long period of time?
Really cool mutant bacteria that lives in there instead. You remember the Simpsons episode where I think it's Bart fucks up a science experiment in a petri dish and ends up creating an entire colony of living beings that worship him as their god?
No, but it totally reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode where they feed the love potion to the species and they all turn into the praying mantises because the girl had the cold at the same time as the love potion got fed to her.
Man, I got to rewatch those. I watched them all once in a 2-day period.
Oh boy, that would be a blur.
Yeah, I got to revisit those before the new season drops.
Morty has a crush on a girl at school and he wants Rick to make him a love potion and he says, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But she had a cold at the time that Morty gives her the love potion and the whole species their whole planet evolves into like these crazy praying mantis psychopaths that are in love with Morty, all of them, like chasing him down. It's fucked up, man.
Yeah, that's what's in your microwave.
That's what's in your microwave is those creatures.
For sure.
The other disease one that I was going to talk about is that I didn't know this. Did you know that some humans are becoming immune to malaria?
No, but that's tight.
Isn't it? In Africa, there's a thing called HGBS, which is not BS. It's real. And it's actually called sickling hemoglobin, which makes humans immune to malaria. It's this article that I found said it makes sense that a mutation would eventually arise because malaria is one of the number one killers of humans, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So it makes sense that the body would start creating red blood cells that would be resistant to malaria parasites.
Yeah.
But I didn't know this. If you have that gene, so if you inherit that gene from one of your parents, you'll be immune to malaria. But if you inherit it from both parents, that's what gives you sickle cell.
Huh?
Sickle cell anemia comes from getting HGBS from two different parents. You have like too much of it, and that's what creates sickle cell in human beings.
But the right amount makes you immune to malaria?
Right.
Weird.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
When you said HGBS, It sounded like a terrible spin-off of HGTV where you just do everything wrong.
Oh my God, bullshit. Put some fucking paint over here. I don't know. Rip the fridge out. You got a house. Fuck you.
Todd staples carpet samples together. That's one of the shows.
Dude, I love the idea of an HGTV show where they just fuck up the house and then leave.
Yeah, it's HGBS.
Here today on HGBS. Fucking
HGGB.
I don't give a shit about Daniel and Stacy. Fuck their fucking house.
We poured some rocks in the backyard next to the bushes. So basically we did the landscaping.
We filled the toilet up with caulk because fuck you.
Yeah, HGBS. That's my new favorite.
Surprise, here's your house. Eat shit, we're out of here. Come on, bring the camera.
Surprise, eat shit. Hey, I hope you have a shitty life in your dumb house. Bye.
The family's just crying and they're just like walking out the door with the cameras.
They pull the two big, like the before picture apart and there's just a pile of shit on fire.
You like it?
No,
right,
okay,
guys.
fuck yourself.
Next house, come on.
All right, let's. Yeah,
Well,
is
we're
this
gonna
a
change
place
gears?
to take a break
All right,
before we
let's-
go total batshit crazy for the second half of the show?
Are we okay? I can't believe we're already halfway in. I have so many more amazing evolution facts for you. All right.
You can hit me with amazing evolution facts if you want.
All right. No, when we come back from the break, I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do one more fun thing with you.
All right.
And then yeah, we'll take the car completely off the rails.
Beautiful.
We'll be right back on the What If Podcast. This episode of the What If Podcast is brought to you in part by Button Poetry. Check them out right now by visiting buttonpoetry.com. Button Poetry is nothing like the traditional poetry you heard in high school, and they're certainly not the same old, boring dead guys that are going to put you to sleep. Button Poetry features poets of all ages, races, sexual orientations, and backgrounds. And as a poetry press and an online destination for spoken word and slam poetry videos, Button Poetry publishes poetry that moves people. They believe that real, current stories and real, current voices are more necessary now than ever. So check out everything they have to offer. There's books, there's videos, there's commentary, there's learning, there's education. There's so much stuff that you can get by checking them out at buttonpoetry.com. Today, you will fall in love with poetry all over again, or maybe for the very first time.
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest, a process which had once favored the noblest traits of man, now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down. How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
Got to thin the herd, bro. It's all going to go to shit if we don't thin the herd.
Bill Burr, thin the herd. Thin the herd. Unfortunately, thinning the herd can go wrong sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a popular strategy, nor a good
It's
one,
not.
really.
Well, I think, okay, so for those of you who don't know, that clip was from the movie Idiocracy.
Yes.
And you should all go watch it if you haven't, because it's very funny and also sort of terrifying.
The last time I watched Comedy Central, like 10 years ago, it was on about every other hour.
And it's like sort of still is.
Is it? Okay.
I think it's still on, or it's on a lot more now, because the parallels with
it's more and
today
more
are like
relevant.
so much more relevant. Like I'm fairly certain that I can't remember, is he an actor or
Who?
The dude who becomes president's either an actor or like a former professional wrestler.
Yeah, he looks, I mean, it's Terry Crews, right?
It is Terry
Yeah,
Crews.
and he's dressed up like an American gladiator with an AK.
He has American
What's
flag
his,
shorts.
Camacho, President Camacho or something like that.
I think that's it.
President Kombucha.
Kombucha. tight. I love kombucha.
Shit's disgusting.
No way.
Yeah, it
you
is,
ever had the
man.
ginger ale one?
It's all trash. That one is slightly less trash. That's the closest to being a thing I would drink on purpose, but the rest of them are just straight dumpster juice.
I will acknowledge there are a bunch of dumpster juice ones. Look, the one thing
whatever. We don't need to talk about the total lack of merit that is kombucha.
The one
kombucha.
See, you can't even say that.
Kimchaka.
One thing we can both agree
What
on.
was that drink called? Poland?
The one thing we can both agree on is no kombucha could ever be as disgusting as coconut water.
Unless there's a coconut kombucha, which there probably is.
Oh no! Oh god!
Just vinegar and vomit for only $12 an ounce.
Oh god!
You too could drink your own barf.
Do you think we should try to make it and brand it and sell it to people and then just mock them for purchasing it?
Just puke.
How could you
puke
do
into
this
barrels,
to
wait a
yourself?
couple years, and sell it to people?
Oh, it's perfect. It's good for you.
Could start our own fish sauce and kombucha company.
Hey, don't hate on fish sauce. I like
All right.
fish sauce.
Jesus. Sorry to everyone who's just been almost puking for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll get back to our
they're gonna
actual
keep doing
content.
So Idiocracy and Terry Crews as their president. I think he's like an actor or like a former wrestler in the movie. So part of me thinks that the reason that they keep playing it on Comedy Central is because they're like, oh, we have like kind of a fucking
I would take Terry Crews over our president for sure.
100%, 10 out of 10 times. The
Sometimes it's not your night, man.
yeah, sometimes it's not our 4 years. So in the movie Idiocracy, if you haven't seen it, what they sort of set up is that essentially what happened is there was two different sets of people, right? There was a set of people who were they were like smart and careful and like educated and financially sound. And they were like, oh, like, yeah, we're going to have kids, but we're using protection right now. We're not really sure if it's the right time. We want to make sure we can afford to send our kids to school, et cetera, et cetera. And there's this amazing split screen scene where the other side, it's like, Cletus, I'm pregnant again. And like, it's like some dirty down home Southern redneck.
The premise is that intelligent people stopped having kids and dumb people had more and more and more and more to the point where the entire planet was dumb people.
Yes. And as it turns out, that's not just a movie plot. Heck. Apparently Oliver Curry, who is an evolutionary theorist at the London School of Economics, which is just like...
Also Del Curry's brother, I believe.
Yeah, Chef Curry with the pot. Mixing
Seth
up
Curry's uncle.
Seth Curry's uncle. Mixing up a whole pot of human beings here.
That sounds illegal.
I'm fairly certain it is. Unless your job title is evolutionary theorist at the London School of Economics. I feel like you can kind of do whatever you want to.
What's Chef Curry doing?
Basically what he's saying is that he thinks that the human species may, quote, split in two. Mm-hmm. He says that essentially it's kind of the plot of the movie. People will become choosier about their sexual partners over time, potentially causing humanity to divide into two subspecies. So literally thinking basically if smarter people continue to have sex and procreate with smarter people over the long term, there's a possibility that genetically you might have sort of a branching of two separate groups of...
They will create a, quote, breakaway civilization, perhaps.
Perhaps create a breakaway civilization.
You familiar with that term? That's a big one in UFO land.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Does that mean on the planet or off the planet?
Yes.
Tight.
There's a theory, there's a book by Richard Dolan, I think it's on the shelf over here somewhere, called The Secret Space Program and Breakaway Civilization.
Sweet.
And that idea is like there was that smarter group of people who formed their own civilization.
Got it.
Either off planet or inside the planet or whatever version of crazy stories you prefer.
Got it.
And the rest of us are the dumb ones.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I mean, that's essentially the concept he's talking about. Actually, he refers to it as genetic inequality, which I find kind of interesting. Just the idea that over time,
well,
people with quote unquote better genes. He says,
especially once we get into editing our own genes, that will happen.
Oh, right.
Because we're going to be able to edit almost any part of our genome, but it's also going to be expensive.
Right. So the people who can afford to will have smarter kids who will be more attractive, and they will find other genetically modified rich kids who are smarter and more attractive.
Right.
And then we all become...
And then they'll start their own space program. They're going to walk to the moon.
We can't get into that today.
Okay, sorry. It's for another time.
For another time. That was just for Scott. But yeah, I mean, like...
That seems very plausible to me.
Yeah, and like in a timeline that feels much
closer and closer.
Much more scarily close than I would like it to be.
So was that kind of the basis?
Yeah, there's a really great line in here that I'll read before I let you take it fully off the rails. He says in this like doc that he did where he espouses this theory of splitting in two, he talks about like what the two species would look like, and he says that the underclass would have social skills like communicating and interacting with others could be lost, along with emotions such as love, sympathy, trust, and respect. People would become less able to care for others or perform in teams. Physically, this underclass would start to appear more juvenile, with chins that would recede.
No, not our jawlines.
Okay, Curry. Okay, Chef Curry.
Your jawlines are fucked.
Yeah, it's like
filthy peasants.
Filthy peasants. As a result of having to chew on less processed food, which is like
we're eating dirt, and fucking each other in the dirt.
It's going to be a different show on HGBS where they. No, wait. It's like Food Network, but it's like Chopped, but all the ingredients are just like dirt and like terrible, shitty things.
It's half Survivor, half Chopped.
Can you sustain enough nutrition out of these ingredients to survive?
Next on the History Channel.
But yeah, anyway, that's Curry's take about basically long-term overtime genetic inequality leading us to a chinless underclass and a 7-foot-tall super species with 120-year lifespans. That's what he thinks.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So, all right. Moving a little further out.
Tight.
But based on some of the ideas that you were just talking about.
Yes.
I was coming across a lot of smarter people than I who are suggesting that biologically humans might not do a whole lot more evolving. That we've been around for a couple 100,000 years and we interact globally and our population has kind of reached a maximum sustainable number, or at least close to it.
Right. And one of the things too, sorry, just to weigh in on that quick, that I was reading, and this actually goes to your point.
Go ahead.
Dude, don't hurt yourself. That microphone is
I think I'm good.
Unusable.
Yes, I'm the only one who uses it.
That's good.
So.
One of the things we were talking about, and this goes to your point from earlier, humans are still evolving, right? But it's in smaller ways than we were before. We're not like moving from water to land per se.
Yeah. I think what they were saying is we're probably not at the point where we're going to biologically split into a different species.
Totally.
Unless we do it ourselves.
Right. I was going to use the example of like the one that everybody points to is milk, right? That like we evolved to consume milk as a species. That's like the big one that people point to is like we're still evolving because in the last few thousand years.
Because that's significant somehow?
I mean, it's not necessarily, but it is technically evolution in that our bodies persistently create lactase in order to digest lactose, which usually we were giving up.
Is that passed on genetically, though?
It is. People who have a lactase persistence pass that on to others.
Yeah, so we're not going to have like a new
just a
homo lactasis or something, though.
Just to highlight like the insignificance of the ways in which we're still technically evolving.
So the one area where maybe humans would evolve rapidly and further away from our current species would be when we start colonizing space and people start spending more and more time in space.
Tight.
Because then we have a totally different environment that is very harsh relative to anything that you could experience on Earth.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a very small number of people, probably, at least at first.
Right.
And
which is a pretty small gene pool if it goes further.
Right. And then the physical environment is going to just force adaptation on a biological level, because we're not going to be able to adapt culturally and technologically as quickly, just because we'll have really limited resources compared to what we have on Earth.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this is when you were talking about the isolation thing from earlier.
Right.
This is our new isolation.
Exactly. So, and it's going to be more severe than any isolation that ever would have happened on Earth, because there's literally no interaction with any other humans.
Yeah, you don't even have the same atmosphere.
Right. And I was going back through just sort of like human evolution. So human Homo sapiens have existed for about 200,000 years. And that group of humans was down to about 1,000 people at one point.
Oh.
Yeah. So I forget the name of the event, but there was some human extinction event that
it was a climate event, wasn't it? I remember reading about this.
I can't remember I think it was like volcanic or something, but brought the human population down to 1,000 people roughly. I don't know how the hell you would identify that 200,000 years removed or whatever it was, but
yeah,
some paleoanthropologist probably has determined
that's a good guess. Yeah,
that there were as few as 1,000 humans on the planet at one point that we have now all descended from, which would be not that different from what if we were starting a colony, say on Mars or on a space station or anywhere off planet.
Yeah,
we'd probably be looking at a number somewhere around there, possibly smaller.
I feel like it would take us a long time to even get to that number.
So the minimum size for a viable colony,
yes,
that can avoid like inbreeding and weird genetic mutations, is 160 people.
Wow, that's more than I thought it would be.
So you'd need a minimum of 160, and then the maximum would probably be determined by how expensive it would be to move people.
I bet you it would also be determined by like what you can do in terms of like resources to sustain those people. Like you couldn't grow too quickly, because if you're like, oh fuck, we don't have the food production for that many people.
Yeah, and it would be determined or be influenced obviously too by if you were trying to start a colony on a planet, or if you were doing some sort of long multi-generational trip on a vessel of some kind.
Space station.
Right. I mean, if you're moving to Mars and terraforming Mars, you could probably have a larger group than if you're taking a 10-generation journey on a ship to a different star system.
Right.
Which I don't think we would ever do, but it's one idea that people have proposed.
It seems a lot less likely than like Elon Musk being like, hey guys, I'm pretty sure in like 40 to 100 years we're going to have a colony on Mars.
Yeah.
That's his timeline, right? He said colony in 40 to 100.
I think they're looking at having people on Mars by 2050. But I don't know how many that is. I'm assuming you're not moving very many people at once.
And that's not just
there's going to be a lot of work to be done in terms of, I don't know what the time frame is for terraforming and all that stuff. I would imagine it would have to be longer than that.
Yeah. But 2050 isn't like, that's not just setting a guy on the moon. They're trying to do that sooner.
On
right?
Mars, you mean?
On Mars.
I guess I don't know. That's what I've seen is like the 2040 to 2050 range.
Okay.
But I know SpaceX is super, super aggressive. Usually that might have been a NASA number, and maybe SpaceX is coming in under that like they tend to do.
That fool made a joke about the boring company and was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could bore tunnels under cities? And then like 13 months later, he was like, hey guys, check out my $4 billion industrial drill. We're drilling through the bottom of LA right now.
Yep.
Jesus, Elon. You joked
Earthquakes be damned.
You made a joke on Twitter a year ago, and now you have a whole new company. Like, That's why that dude's predictions for things don't entirely surprise me.
So if we were to start a colony anywhere off planet, it'd be a limited gene pool.
Yes.
They would be extremely isolated.
Yes.
And then you have the physical effects of your environment. So anyone that's been in space or in microgravity for long periods of time your body instantly starts adapting to it.
Sure.
So you lose muscle density, your muscles atrophy, you lose bone density. You develop, or your immune system weakens because you're not interacting with other people and with other bacteria and viruses and stuff. You're in a sterile environment with, on the space station, 4, 5, 6 other people.
See, that's why they tell you not to take antibiotics, because you need bugs in your system to fight back so that your immune system stays.
Right. The heart actually weakens.
What?
Because, so your whole body is designed to work, or has evolved to work with gravity.
Oh, and our gravity.
And your heart has to pump blood with and against gravity. So when you pump blood to your legs and back, it's got to work against gravity to get back up to your heart.
So if there's less gravity, then there's less help.
Your heart has to do less work. And the heart tissue actually begins to shrink.
Ew.
Yeah, so people, when they come back, are super tired.
We should have had a Grinch drop there. His heart shrunk 3 sizes that day.
Yeah, exactly. So your heart shrinks and becomes weaker. Your muscles atrophy. Your bone density decreases. Your spine actually expands.
Okay, so I was going to ask this question. Would people be taller in space? Because
5 to 8 centimeters taller.
Wow, that's way more than I thought it would be.
That's 2 to 3-ish inches for our United States listeners.
I was thinking it would be like micro, like an inch maybe.
No, it's a lot. Because you never have gravity pressing down on your spine, as opposed to always having gravity pressing down on your spine.
And we would
so
have
your whole spinal column extends a little bit.
And I bet you it would be way more if you were born in that environment, because then you would never have gravity on you. So like an astronaut who's fully developed as a grown man would increase that much. But imagine when a body's growing in a no gravity environment,
it's like
it probably grows even taller.
That movie about the kid who's born on Mars.
I never saw that movie.
And falls in love with an Earth girl, and
then he has to go back or something.
I don't know. It looks stupid.
Sad.
Yeah. Oh. But he can't live on Earth because the gravity crushes his little weak ass.
What a plot! Son, you are a frail.
You're too soft for this planet. You gotta go.
You frail.
So your spinal column expands, you get taller. Your bones regrow all the time through using them and through impact, which doesn't happen. So your whole skeleton is going to get weaker. But that also means that material, the calcium from your bones, leaks into other parts of your body.
Sounds dangerous.
So it can also lead to things like kidney stones, because your body has to get rid of a ton of excess calcium somehow. Yeah. Also, a lot of people get what is called the space sniffles.
Give me them.
Because all the fluid in your body.
No, it floats.
Yeah. So all the fluid like in your head and in your sinuses it's not sitting at the bottom of it. It's just kind of floating around. So people feel stuffy and have runny noses like all the time.
Because your mucus is just floating.
It's just chilling.
Damn, that's the second time we've made you guys throw up today.
Yep. Your face gets puffier because all the fluid that normally like kind of settles to the bottom of your person just floating around up in your head.
So
you get a big fat face and your nose runs and you're got kidney stones and
Jesus.
You start losing your eyesight after a while too. People don't really know why that is though. I was trying to find any sort of actual explanation for that. And the best guess is that you never have to focus on anything more than a few feet away from you.
Oh, sure.
And so people's vision starts deteriorating over time because you're not using certain muscles in your eye.
Okay.
But that seemed like just speculation as far as I could tell.
Don't you feel like if we were to do this, right? Like we will, I guess, eventually try to colonize Mars. Wouldn't we go up there with like this whole set of like machinery and exercises and like all kinds of stuff that would like fight back against like the evolutionary processes that would try to like take down our bodies?
Well, that's why astronauts have really intense like fitness regimens both before they leave and while they're on the space station. They have to work out like hours a day.
Right. Just to keep themselves
Just
in shape.
and just to like be able to survive when they get back. If you didn't do anything, I think you'd be really, really screwed rather than screwed for a couple days.
You'd be noodle legs.
Yeah. And your heart would fail.
So, okay.
But it's got to be hard to do a lot of that too, because you can't really do, I mean, you think of any of the exercises that are hard on Earth, it's because of gravity. If you're lifting weights wouldn't be hard without gravity. Running wouldn't be as hard without gravity.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to even get cardio going. And then you have a really small space to work with too.
I'm sure they've got like resistance stuff though.
Right. It's got to be all resistance. But
Yeah.
even, I don't know how you'd even do cardio really. I guess a bike maybe?
Yeah. Strap your legs to pedals and then you have to move in the motion.
Yeah.
That would still do it because your body would be, you could do any punching or kicking or anything that's
Just
just
all got to be resistance based.
repeated resistance-based movements with your body. You could probably do it.
Also, over long periods of time, our hearing would probably evolve too, because sound is very dependent on the atmosphere.
Oh,
And especially out in space, sound can't travel through a vacuum.
and we'd be wearing helmets.
Well, sure. Yeah. But even like on the space station, the only sounds you're ever hearing are coming from the space station itself.
Right.
Because sound can't get to you from anywhere else. It's only going to be able to travel wherever there's air for
Right.
it to vibrate through.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of weird physical stuff that would happen to you. So if we were to have you expand that to not just a year, or I think the longest is like 400 some days that somebody has been in space.
Sure.
438. Russian cosmonaut Valery Polakov. Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I'll say yeah.
That's his name. In 95, he spent almost a year and a half in space.
Good for him. I think I have to imagine that those effects would be like, I mean, I know I just said this, but like, I feel like they would be so compounded for the people that are born and raised under those conditions. Like the people who just experience those conditions for a couple of years, their bodies have had 40 years to like not be in those conditions.
Right.
So if you start from scratch, but those are all the things you have, I bet you that first and second and third generation, it probably picks up so fast because they have like a completely different set of stimuli.
We're going to be 9 feet tall.
Are we?
It depends on what planet you're on, or we're going to be really short.
Instead of growing 10 centimeters every 150 years, we'll grow 10 centimeters every like generation or something.
Because that's all the stuff we have about being in space is based on being in 0G. If you were on a planet that had more gravity, the opposite of a bunch of these things would be happening.
Be a bunch of tiny people.
Yeah. Yeah.
This gives me so much more sureness that we're going to talk about aliens now.
All right. Before we get there, you're starting to see it though.
I am with it.
So there's a bunch of weird psychological stuff that happens in space too, which is probably more due to the fact that you're living in a confined space with a very small number of people.
Like 4 dudes, yeah. Or ladies.
Yeah, jeez, man.
I meant it ambiguously. Folks, 4 peeps. Carry on.
Yeah, astronauts and cosmonauts spend days, weeks, months, a year in a really confined space with a very small group of people. One Russian cosmonaut said, quote, "All the conditions necessary for murder are met if you shut 2 men in a cabin measuring 5 meters by 6 and leave them there for 2 months."
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Think if the two of us, so cut this room in half and the two of us can't leave for 2 months.
Oy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love you, bro, but
Right. One of us is dead after 2 months.
one of us
for
would
sure.
kill the other.
For sure. And there was actually, Americans at least have never had any what they call like emergency behavioral incidents in space.
Oh, shit. Have other countries, though?
Russia has.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. This is not a thing that I had considered
Yep.
previously.
So there have been 2 Russian missions that ended early due to, quote, psychological factors.
No fucking way.
One was in 76.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to say something really quick.
Yeah, you just raised your hand.
I did raise my hand. It seemed like the right thing to do.
It worked.
It worked. Okay. I don't know if we have any Russian listeners, but it's a lot colder and a lot darker. And as far as I've heard, a lot shittier living in Russia than it is living in the United States. So shouldn't they be more prepared for the cold, dark vastness of space?
I think you're thinking of like Siberia, where not very many people live.
I guess that's true.
I don't think cities in Russia are all dark and cold and terrible.
I don't know. That's what movies taught us as kids growing up.
Yeah, I think that might have had something to do with the whole Cold War thing that was going on.
Well, propaganda works.
Anyway, in 76, a mission was ended early and the crew was brought back to Earth because the cosmonauts complained of a pungent odor. No source of the odor was ever found, nor did any other crews smell it. They suggested that it was a shared delusion.
What?
So the official explanation was that the 5 of them shared a hallucination about a smell aboard the capsule that they were on.
That's trippy.
Yeah. The other one...
Maybe they just flew into a space fart.
I mean, who knows? There's probably weird shit flying around out there.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. In 87, there was another one that was cut short, but due to apparent psychological factors, but there's no explanation of what those were, just that they brought people back early due to psychological factors.
All right.
Closest the Americans have gotten was on, I don't think it was on the space station. I forget what mission it was. But so they have mission specialists that will go up to either they're on a mission to do something really specific. So maybe to do a science experiment or to deliver some piece of equipment.
Yeah, they bring
and
someone
set
up
it
with the background necessary to do that one thing or whatever.
Yeah, so they're not trained as intensely in space flight. They're not pilots. They're not astronauts. They're just up there to do a specific job and then come back.
They're like substitute teachers, kind of.
They were Sandra Bullock in Gravity.
I never saw Gravity.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
I like The Martian.
Also pretty good.
I saw that movie.
So there have been a couple issues with mission specialists, including one who got really fixated on the hatch aboard, whatever. I forget what.
Oh, fuck that. I'm tying that motherfucker up instantly.
So he kept asking questions about it and being like, wait, so we could just open that and it would go out into space? And the astronauts were like, yeah, but we don't unless we're trying to go out into space. And they eventually...
Dude, that kind of gave me the yuckies.
Yeah, one of the astronauts got a padlock and put it on that bitch. They brought a padlock up just to make sure that no one accidentally or intentionally in a moment of weird psychological shit opened the hatch and
now
killed everybody.
Shut up about the fucking hatch, Anthony.
Right,
you couldn't open it if you wanted to.
It's like
creep.
Like Lost. You ever watch Lost?
Yeah, I watched the first couple seasons or 3 seasons.
I want to
start
a section on our website called Movies Ryan Hasn't Seen and just do movie reviews.
We could do that.
You can't. I'm just gonna do it.
Hey, maybe we'll do that on the Patreon.
Yeah, there we go.
We've been getting new Patreon supporters. Thank you guys all so much. If you do want to support, if you like the show, go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast.
If you were in the first round of people that supported us, you should have your mug by now. So if you don't, email us and we'll figure out what happened.
I drank my coffee out of my What If mug this morning,
it's a beautiful
and it was
mug.
tight as hell.
So yeah, patreon.com/whatifpodcast.
Yeah.
Go check us out. We'll give you extra stuff. There's already extra stuff up there now. There will be more probably by the time you hear this.
And maybe one of the extra things we'll do is movie reviews from Ryan about
movies Ryan hasn't seen.
Maybe I should do the review as someone who hasn't seen it.
Just do it like a Google image search for the movie and then try and give like a 3-paragraph review of it.
All right, so Sandra Bullock and George Clooney
oh, see? You're already off to a good start.
Had a bunch of sex in space, and it was tight as shit.
But her hair didn't move the way her hair would have moved, and Neil deGrasse Tyson got mad about it on Twitter.
I'm pretty sure they both float away for the last hour and a half of the movie. That's all it is.
It's a silent film. All right. So in summary, a bunch of weird physical and psychological shit would happen to a small group of people in space for their life.
Give me my aliens.
Okay.
Show me what you got.
This is perfect. We got like 10 minutes left for me to go just full-blown alien madness. Okay.
Oh, wait. Can I ask you a question first, or do you want to go? Do you want to do it?
You already did, so go for it.
Do we evolve into aliens?
Ryan, shh. Maybe.
All right, Tyler.
I'm about to... Okay, you're familiar with the Greys.
Yes.
Those of you that aren't, they are a very commonly, probably the most commonly reported type of alien being. They're 3 to 4 feet tall. They have gray skin. They have really big heads. They have big black eyes.
Little mouths, little noses.
Yep. Or like no nose, no mouth, slit and nostrils, no ears. Yeah, little stubby guys that come from outer space.
Little rubbery dudes.
Google gray alien. You'll see a million pictures. That'll probably creep you out.
Here's hoping.
Okay, so I'm going to break down how aliens are, gray aliens
Yes.
are the breakaway civilization of human beings.
Yes.
Okay?
Is this an actual episode of Ancient Aliens?
I don't know, probably.
Okay.
I arrived at this conclusion on my own, though, so fuck that show.
We've got an original, folks. We've got an original.
Content.
I love this. All right.
All right. If humans were to be in space for long periods of time,
Yes.
well, as we talked about earlier, your height would be dependent on the amount of gravity that you're experiencing.
So on Mars with less gravity, we would be taller, but on a planet like...
Does Mars have less gravity than Earth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Mars is smaller than Earth?
We're gonna insert a good googly moogly afterwards.
Yes. Okay. You are correct.
Yeah.
It is 62% of that of Earth's.
Yes.
That was a terrible sentence.
It's okay. We're with you.
Okay. Yeah. So less gravity equals taller. More gravity equals smaller.
So Jupiter, whatever.
Bigger planet equals more gravity. Smaller planet equals less gravity.
Right.
Okay. So the Greys are from a big planet
Sure.
because they're little guys.
Right.
They've been squished.
Spencer just took both his hands and made like a
Squish.
squishing hand
Yeah.
motion, which is terrific.
Okay. Lower bone density and lower muscle density.
Yes. Makes them skinny.
Yeah, they're well, again, if you're on a planet with less gravity.
Oh, right.
So
Yes.
the Greys are little like squat dudes.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
If you meet a 15-foot tall praying mantis alien, they're from a planet with not very much gravity.
That's real.
Yeah, and they're probably really weak.
And a
So
different...
just push them over if you meet one.
Is this a different breakaway civilization? Or is this a breakaway from the breakaway?
I think the praying mantis aliens are not related to human beings. They evolved separately.
Got it.
Okay.
But the Greys are.
Greys are related. The Greys are Homo sapien alienus or something. They're like a different Homo sapien. You know, we're Homo sapien sapiens.
Well,
They're like another step.
we'll drop a cooler alien name in post.
All right. So if you're in space for long periods of time, it's very dark in space. Your eyesight gets fucked up. We don't exactly know why.
You need bigger eyes.
You need bigger eyes that can let in more light.
Tight.
Yeah.
Tight.
So they got their big black eyes. They don't have ears.
Because your hearing is harder in space.
Yeah, because they're traveling a lot. Because obviously they're coming back here often.
Right.
Okay. They've eliminated the potential psychological effects of space travel by becoming more emotionless. People always describe the Greys as being almost robotic or emotionless or not having feelings when they interact with them.
So they're able to own that part of their
They don't try and
brains,
murder each other on the flight to Earth.
which may potentially take them hundreds of years.
Right, exactly. They're really, really fucking pale because they're never out in the sun. Their pigment has evolved to match their surroundings.
That's real.
Yep.
Which is the inside of a spacecraft or somewhere further away from our sun.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
With you so far.
Okay. So physical traits. Shorter, bigger eyes. They got bigger brains.
They probably also got little mouths because they probably don't eat much food because A, they're smaller, and B, they're probably smart enough to get rid of the need for food production.
Well, they're certainly not hunting.
No.
So they don't need like teeth and
They probably got alien pills that are
and-
like, cool, I have sustenance for 3 days.
forever.
Yes.
Yeah. They've evolved a larger brain relative to their body size.
Okay.
One thing that they've probably fucked up
Uh-oh. They're gonna come get you. Don't say they fucked up. They're gonna come get you.
they don't have ears. They can't hear us. They, through gene editing,
Uh-oh.
have fucked up their own reproduction.
Is that why they don't have wieners?
Right. They have no sex organs. And that's why they're so fascinated with human beings and especially with human reproduction.
Because we still do.
Right. And my theory is that grays are us, a breakaway version of human beings
Yes.
that got so far down the road that they realized of genetic engineering and genetic modification that they realized they were fucked and needed to go back to their next closest ancestor to rediscover something about their DNA or their reproductive abilities. And that's why they're here abducting humans and sticking weird needles into your wombs.
And putting babies in us and stuff.
Right. And taking our half hybrid alien babies.
And checking out your wiener to be like, can we have a wiener too
Yep.
again, please? Wieners
And-
would be helpful if we want to make more of us.
And making Scully have half alien babies and then kidnapping him.
Right. I haven't seen that, but yes.
Yeah, it happens.
I know the reference.
Scully becomes pregnant with an alien. They call it Scalian.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. They call it Melissa, I think.
I was going to say, no, they fucking don't.
I think her alien baby is named Melissa.
Oh,
Maybe that's her sister. I don't remember.
they should have been more creative if it is. I mean,
So that's how humans are going to keep evolving is we're going to make some new, different, weird space version of humans that in 500 years won't even be recognizable to us because they're also going to have a totally different cultural and technological evolution because they're so isolated, completely isolated from human beings. Their language will be different. Their whole culture will be different. They'll develop telepathic communication because they accepted hallucinogenic drugs and rediscovered parts of their brains.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also their ears fell off somewhere along the line, so they had to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
And
right.
now,
That makes sense.
when they come back to visit us, we don't even recognize them as being related to us because they left us thousands of years ago. And that also explains the ancient alien theory because they used to be here more frequently because they were humans.
But they were like the tight humans. They were like the ones that built the pyramids
Right.
and like did Easter Island.
Right.
Like
and
all
the
that stuff.
Elohim and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that interacted with people and like fucked people and all that stuff.
And then they got so smart, they were like, all right, we out.
Right.
Peace.
And now a couple thousand years later, like, oh shit, we forgot something.
Tight.
We forgot our dicks back on Earth.
We must go back.
You can't do shit without your balls.
We must go back for our dicks.
The sequel. We forgot our balls, part 2. Hey, there's a fucking show if I ever heard one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thanks for hanging out. Dude, I can't wait for the day that someone like quotes you being like, alien theorist Spencer Worth Davis
Says you can't do shit without your balls.
we forgot our dicks.
Oh man, I hope you find it.
Oh, shout out to Cold Game Kelv.
I'm wearing one of his hats right now.
If anyone knows that dude,
We
Cold Game
we
Kelv.
are desperately trying to get a hold of Cold Game Kelv to do an episode about what if you could talk to animals. So, listeners of the What If podcast, get on Twitter or Facebook or email
yeah.
and hit up Cold Game. I think it's, hold on, let me.
It's literally Cold Game Kelv, Kelv.
On Twitter?
Yes. Is that his?
Yeah, let me make sure we have this right.
I'm not sure if that's his actual name or if that's his @
Okay. On Twitter, he is at Cold Game Kelv, Kelv.
Yes, okay.
We need to get this dude on the show. It is crucial.
If you haven't watched his videos,
you
need to go on YouTube and just search for Cold Game Kelv or Cold Game Kelv Brother Nature. And this dude is a dude who lives in upstate New York who befriends deer and treats them like his friends. And it's incredible.
Damn genius is what he is.
Genius. So hit him up and tell him that he should be a guest on here, that we've asked him. We've sent him an email. We've tweeted at him. We're trying to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess any other announcements? Go check out whatifpodcast.com. There's links to the Patreon on there. We've got a shop coming soon.
We've got our website all updated.
Yeah.
Bunch of new content on there. It's faster. It's prettier.
Yep.
So go check that out, whatifpodcast.com.
Yep. And
hit up the Patreon if you haven't yet. Patreon.com/whatifpodcast, where we'll be putting out some extra content every week. Put up a 30-minute or so video of last week's episode of 4 or 5 days before the episode came out. So if you want to get some extra stuff, you want to get it early.
Yeah.
That is the place to do it. Throw us a couple bucks every month and we'll give you a whole bunch of extra cool shit.
Yeah. And as always, if you want to get in touch, hi at whatifpodcast.com. Show suggestions.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of those lately,
yeah,
which is much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I think we're gonna try and put a few of those into maybe a bonus episode here.
Yep.
Where we run through some of the ideas that maybe wouldn't work for a full episode, but would still be fun to talk about for a while. So.
Yeah, that might only be on the Patreon too, so you might want to get in there. Yeah. Well, goddamn. I think that is what we got for today.
Also, there might be two breakaway civilizations, and the other one is the reptilians living inside the hollow earth.
What about the mantises?
They're not, dude. They're space bugs. They're not people.
Space bugs. Okay,
yeah.
Not people bugs.
Right.
All right, I'm with you now. Sorry, I just needed some clarification.
All right, till next time.
We love you guys.
Love you. Bye. We'll be back next week with another episode of the What If Podcast. Learn more at www.whatifpodcast.com.